Welcome back to Banter from the Bench podcast. This is episode 6. I am Kevin. I'm here with Sean. We've got plenty of national sports stories to cover today, so it should be a nice longer episode. We've got a lot to talk about today. Just wanted to, first and foremost, wish the dads of the world a happy early Father's Day. Hope you guys enjoy your day. I know you're probably going to kick back, have some beers, watch some baseball, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. But yeah, we've got plenty to talk about today, so get ready to tune in.
Soundstripe.
All right, before we get started here with episode 6, I wanted to cover something that we talked about last week. Now, if you can see my hat here, it's a University of Florida hat, and last week we went over some predictions for who's going to make it to the College World Series. And Kevin, I need to know, are you still throwing up the C?
I was never fully throwing it up, more so just pulling for them. But yeah, Florida came away with that one, man.
I got video proof, but I just had to give you a little bit of crap about that before we get started here. But yeah, like Kevin said, we have plenty to talk about, so we'll probably be a little bit longer of an episode for us tonight, but never a bad thing. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. And we got 2 championship series going on right now, and we'll kick it off with the more entertaining one. We'll go with the Stanley Cup Finals here between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. It is Thursday night when we're recording this. Currently, the Panthers are up 2-0. The series moved back to Edmonton tonight as we're talking. Game is currently tied 1-1. So Panthers still up 2-0, clinging to they had an early lead in this one, and Edmonton scored an equalizer, but a little bit of a battle here. Kevin, what's been your thoughts on the Stanley Cup so far?
Man, we all knew the Panthers were going to be good, right? Like, you take it back to the last couple seasons, they've always made deep runs the last few years, especially last year. But I didn't think the Panthers would borderline expose the Oilers like they have already so far in the Stanley Cup Finals here. And, I mean, the score is 1-1 right now, but, you know, even the fact that they're neck and neck with the Oilers in Edmonton, it just goes to show these guys came out ready to play. They got ahead in the series 2-0, and they've looked really impressive so far in this series. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've kind of harped on goaltending a lot, but it continues to be it just one of the, if not the strongest point for Florida. Sergei Bobrovsky, again, is playing unbelievable hockey. He, so far through the first 2 games of this series, he's allowing 0.5 goals per game, and he has a .980 save percentage. So when you're going up against it, and when you're going up against a team like Edmonton who can put up numbers offensively, that's even more impressive. I've been watching bits and pieces of this series so far, and he's just making some saves that make your jaw hit the floor, and he's been super fun to watch. Another point I've been keeping an eye on too is obviously Florida defensively. We talked about last week just how good they've been at shutting down stars. Now they have the toughest task with facing Connor McDavid. They've done a good job now. He's making some highlight reel plays. He's shifting around the ice. He's creating some looks for himself, but they've held him just 1 point. And granted, it's 2 games, so obviously he can explode for 4 or 5 points on any given night. But yeah, just 1 point for McDavid so far. I think they're doing a really good job with him. And then also to pair with that, Leon Draisaitl, as of now, I don't know what he's done tonight.
I'll check.
He's got no points. So they're just continuing this trend of we don't give a damn who's on the other end of the ice. We're going to be big. We're going to be physical. We're going to shut you down. We're going to piss you off. And it just continues to work for them. And they're rolling this postseason. They got entering tonight. They're on a 5-game winning streak this postseason. I would guess that probably continues tonight because I saw they're just up 2-1, and
Yeah, so I was just laughing. They just took
with
the
the
lead.
way Bob's playing. It's going to be hard to get 3 against him. But yeah, it's Florida, man. They look good, and they look like a team that's ready to get the job done this year after missing out the year before.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think it's a little disappointing because you wanted to see McDavid on the biggest stage, and he hasn't really done much. Draisaitl, no points tonight, so he doesn't have a goal or an assist. But I don't know, man. It's always fun to watch a team like Florida just go balls to the wall and make a run like they have this year. And honestly, for a while, I thought that was going to be Dallas, but the Panthers have looked really good. And you could only hope that Edmonton's going to make it a series. I mean, right now, Florida's on pace to go up 3-0 in the series, but it's still early in the second period, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see how tonight goes. By the time this episode releases, we'll already know the score of this game, and we'll know if it's a 2-1 series or if it's 3-0 Florida. So stay tuned for that. We do have some other hockey talk before we jump into NBA playoffs. The huge breaking news today, Utah came out with their name. Did you see it?
I did, yep.
Man, that's trash. They had this entire year to think of a name. And, yeah, sure, legally they couldn't come up with a name or release a name or anything like that. But everybody kind of knew what was going to happen, except me. I was fighting it. Everybody knew what was going to happen.
Deny.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks, when you lose the team out here because now I can't go see Bedard unless I travel to Vegas. But you had all this time to come up with a name, and after putting together this survey of all the fans that are voting, Utah Hockey Club is what you come up with.
Yes, so I think so. First off, I love the colors. I think the colors are cool.
Yeah.
Second off, they are still doing a name. They're still doing the fan vote and everything. As far as I know, Utah Hockey Club is just for this year. But like you're saying, it's been kind of an option for this to happen for a while now. And obviously, if you're an owner trying to bring a team to a city, you got a lot of stuff you got to take care of, things to keep in line, whatnot. But I mean, you should have a list of team names ready to go in your back pocket. You shouldn't have to, just say, hey, we're just going to be Utah Hockey Club for a year. I mean, you look at most recently, we got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken, two very out there, very different names.
Yeah.
That they had those right away. So it's like, how can they do it, but you can't? And Utah Hockey Club just shies away from the uniqueness and the different names that we've seen come up with some of these new teams over the years. So a little disappointing there, but I know they're doing a fan vote and all that's grand and stuff. And being Utah Hockey Club is still an option. Like, that is a vote fans can have. But yeah. I hope they go with something creative. I've seen Utah Blizzard, I think, is really cool. Utah Venom's been out there. I believe there's something like Utah Bison or something like that.
Utah Yeti, bro.
Utah Yeti, yeah. They got a lot of creative and clever names, so hopefully they go with one of them because, opportunities are endless for marketing and just for gear and stuff like that. So we'll see.
My only thing is if they already decided on the Utah Yeti and they're having to work out the legalities with the Yeti cooler and cup company, maybe that's why it's Utah Hockey Club for the meantime. But I don't know if that's the case. Why even release a name?
Very good point. You're a smart man. I didn't even think about that. Maybe they can just get together and agree that we'll make the logo a cooler. And everyone can be happy.
Or everything is just Yeti sponsored in there, and they don't have to pay for it. But yeah, we'll see, man. I'd like a more creative name because, like you said, with the Seattle Kraken, that's such a badass name for them, and it just makes merch cool too. You know what I mean? Like, I want a Kraken hat, and I don't even follow the team, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if something more comes of it. I hope it does, but who knows? Shifting to the other playoff series that we have going on, NBA Finals. Dude, what? I mean, we had an indication that this was going to happen, but, it hasn't even been watchable.
No, it has not been. It's been trash, trash, trash.
And the Mavericks know it too. You see Luka last night, the post game comments talking about the refs and like, yeah, sure, I get it. There was probably some bad calls there. He's never fouled out before, but bro, you're also like down by 20 for a majority of these games, if not more.
Yeah,
Like
he's a complainer. I haven't really gotten this close of a look at him, especially under a microscope and stuff, as I'm watching a little bit more closely now. And it just really, like, I don't know if he just started doing this, but like, man, I watched like a couple games in the semis when they were playing Minnesota, and I was like, this dude, I like, all he does is complain and throw his hands up and talk to the refs after every single play. It's like, give it up, man. And he's just been continuing that. I saw that the Mavericks supposedly talked to him about complaining and stuff too. Like, that's not a good look, but man, it's just been rough. It has been such a rough series. You know, the big storyline was Kyrie Irving's going back to Boston. Like, how's he going to do? He was horrible.
yeah.
And you figured like that was a possibility, but not as bad as he really was. Like, I think he shot like in the 30s, like both games.
Yeah. Up until last night, game 3, he had a pretty big game. I think he put up like 30, 35, something like that. But yeah, I mean, the Celtics are just doing what they do best and what they've done all season. You know, they're distributing around amongst the players that they have. You know, Jaylen Brown, I have right here, he's averaging 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, almost 6 assists per game, and shooting 55% from the field. Jason Tatum throwing up over 30 points in game 3. Drew Holiday stepped up in game 2. He had 26 points while Tatum was struggling. So you've got guys that are just stepping up to the plate and they're distributing the ball like they have all season.
That's like the defecating part of Boston is you got Tatum, who's mostly struggled this series, but they're still up 3-0. You got Jaylen Brown, who's, you listed off his stats. He's playing pretty damn well. I would say he's probably your MVP at this point. Shout out to you for motivating him.
Got your dog.
And then the thing is, like, all right, so you got Porzingis coming back for game 1. He explodes for like 21. Then he gets hurt again. Oh, here comes Drew Holiday, drops 20 plus in game 2 when Porzingis is hurt. It's like these guys they're not healthy, but they're just so damn deep, and they have so many guys that can score and contribute that, like, when one's struggling or two are struggling, the team isn't struggling because they're just that well-rounded. And we're really, really seeing it this series with just how uncompetitive it's been and how much better they look than Dallas. They're up 3-0. I find it hard to believe it's not going to be a sweep at this point. I don't know about you, but I find it hard to believe that Boston will not take care of this series next game.
I think so too. I mean, even Derek White, man, like he's putting up like 15 points a game this series for the most part. I think there's one game he had like 13, but he's playing really well. I think it'll be a sweep. I predicted the Celtics in 5. I don't even think they'll make it.
I think I did 6.
You did.
Maybe.
Yeah. You took Celtics in 6. So I don't know. I think we wanted it to be a better series than clearly it's gonna end up being. But there's not really a whole lot to talk about because it is exactly what it looks like. There's no underlying stories where, you know, maybe the Celtics are secretly struggling but managing to win games. No, they're just dominating. They're playing good basketball. A team that hasn't necessarily dominated as of late is looking for a new coach. We've got some Lakers talk. Dan Hurley just kind of gave the Lakers a big fuck you.
Yeah, he did.
What's your takeaway? What do you think about that?
Surprised. I thought that well, it's just so interesting how it worked out. Initially when his name got brought up, I was like, I don't know if he'll bite on it. And then it kept getting more and more serious, and then they had this big ol' offer for him. He told his team about it. I thought that was pretty telling. And all of a sudden, he's like, you know what? No, I'm going to stay in college, and I'm going to try to go win a third consecutive national title. I was really surprised. Especially with the way that the college games changed to where it's NIL and, if you don't play right away, your kids will leave, and kids are so attached to coaches. Not that the coach factor matters for him, because any kid would love to play for him, but it's just a whole different ballgame than when he first got into it. And granted, he's had a lot of success the last few years. Still, it's different. It's probably a little bit easier to be an NBA coach because you're dealing with professionals and stuff. But yeah, I was just kind of surprised. I thought it seemed like it was going to end up being the hire that they made, and it turns out he said I'd rather be at Connecticut. What were your thoughts?
I think there was a lot of negotiation tactics going on here. I think he told UConn, hey, if you can meet me with these two requirements that I have to stay at UConn, then it's a no-brainer for me. And I think they did. I think they stepped up to the plate. Now, I don't know what those are. Maybe those are contract numbers. Maybe those are, something that's outside of the contract. Maybe it's, travel plans for his family they provide plane or whatever it is. I mean, the negotiation tactics nowadays are just insane. So I think that definitely played a factor here. I think his heart was in UConn. I think he was going to go back really no matter what. He just wanted to see how much he could push the envelope, because there's not a hotter coach in college basketball than Dan Hurley right now. He has the upper hand with every single school, no matter who's negotiating with him. Even NBA teams, clearly. He turned down $70 million. So I think it's also kind of a nice little reality check for the Lakers and Lakers fans that, like, you can't get whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and just assume that, just because you've got Lakers across your chest, it's going to work out.
Yeah, that's very valid point there too. It kind of just seemed like a bigger reason why that was going to work out is because, it's the Lakers, they'll pay him, and he was like, it ain't all about the money. So good for him for sticking to that and sticking with his heart and going back to UConn. It'll be fun to see him maybe try and win another one. That's uncharted territory, and it's something that we hardly see these days. So being able to watch him on this historic run, it's cool we get to see that again.
Yep. And speaking of historic, while we're still on NBA talk, we did get news. Mr. NBA passed away this week. Jerry West, rest in peace. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to talk about here just because it is sad to see, but, I think it's just pay our respects to Jerry West and wish the best for his family.
Yep. Mad respect. The logo, an icon,
yep.
Mr. Clutch.
Yep,
legend for
exactly.
sure. Sad day for the basketball, or sad recent day for the basketball world, but
yep.
Everyone gets to celebrate him now.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of legends, now
yes.
This is a sport I don't know if we'll ever talk about again until maybe this time next year. Hot dog eating, man. Joey Chestnut shocked the sports community. Actually, it wasn't even him. It was, what was it, the MLE or whatever the league is?
Major
the
League
MLE.
Eating.
Yeah, Major League Eating shocked the world and basically told Joey that he can't compete because he has a contract and he's been doing marketing for, what was the brand?
Impossible Meats. Impossible Meats, I believe is the name of it. He was promoting meatless hot dogs.
Yeah, man. I'm not going to lie. When he posted his comments on Twitter, I thought about responding and being like, Joey, dude, just go live. Just do the eating competition live while you're watching it on TV. Like, you could still win this thing. You won't get a belt, but, like, man, have some fun with it. But after some back and forth, I mean, it seems like things are gonna work out. It does sound like there's still an opportunity, but he is quote unquote banned due to promoting these impossible foods. His resume, I've got it right here, is pretty impressive. He's won the event 16 times, including a streak where he has won every year since 2016. And it seems like, there was Kobayashi for a while, but it just seems like every single year the hot dog eating competition is like Joey Chestnut versus the world.
Well, did you hear the rumors, too, that recently surfaced? I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi are going to do another competition, just them two. And I saw something where it's like either going to be on or promoted by Netflix. I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw it floating around on the internet.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it. It was like them, like his hand and Joey Chestnut's hand, like holding a hot dog together. I'm like, okay.
Probably a meatless hot dog.
Yeah, right, or half of it at least. I don't know if that was just a meme that was going around or if there's actually some truth to it, but it would honestly be entertaining if it was real. So hopefully it works out. I mean, it's kind of a 4th of July staple to see Joey Chestnut compete for the hot dog eating championship. So hopefully it works out. I'm sure they'll find a way because he's literally the reason people watch.
Yeah, I was gonna say like they can't do that event without him. Like that, Joey Chestnut is that event. Like he draws the viewerships. He gives everyone something to be super excited yet super disgusted by at the same time. Just with the way he just downs those dogs, and I just thought it was funny. It does now seem like this is probably gonna work out, and he'll be back on stage there. But just like. I don't know the commissioner's name, but the commissioner of MLE was like, America needs Joey Chestnut. We will try to work something out. And I just find it funny that the way they talk about him. But yes, it's unfortunate if it doesn't happen because I think they'll see that in viewership numbers that come out if they even want to release them because they'll be pretty bad. But hopefully he can continue his streak here and he can be back on stage and America can celebrate 4th of July the true way we know how to, and that is by watching Joey Chestnut down a bunch of hot dogs.
Yeah, I think we'll see it. I'd be shocked if it didn't work out. But we'll see. I'm sure there'll be more to unveil from here, and don't worry, we'll talk about it. Now for NFL talk, there's honestly, today, a couple stories came out. What is it? Thursday the 13th. Oh, we were one day away from Friday the 13th. That's creepy. Falcons losing a draft pick. So they lost a 5th-round pick for tampering during the discussions with Kirk Cousins. To me, this seems really light by the NFL to punish the Falcons by only taking away a 5th-round pick. I was thinking back, I'm like, man, I swear to God, I thought the Dolphins got hit with a harder penalty recently, and they did. I looked it up. So it was back in 2022 when they were trying to negotiate with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. They lost a 1st-round pick for tampering, and the Falcons are only losing a 5th. Like, I don't understand that at all, but we all knew something was going to happen from it. It just seems like a little bit of a light punishment from the NFL.
With how long it took for this situation to finally come to its head, I agree there. Like, it felt like maybe the NFL would crack down on them a little bit harder than a 5th-round pick. I think if you would ask the Falcons, like, during the draft, hey, we'll settle this, give us your 5th-round pick right now, and this will be over, they probably would have been like, fine, yeah, take it. But I think it's not quite as serious as what the Dolphins did because the Dolphins tampered with a player and a coach, so you're getting hit twice there. So I think the NFL kind of made a little bit more of a lesson out of the Dolphins. But yeah, I thought it would be more than a 5th. I thought maybe like a 2nd or 3rd would be what they would end up losing, especially with just this has been dragging on for months now, you know. And the other investigation, too, was the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. Well, they didn't even get punished. They didn't find anything there. So, I guess I just expect a little bit more.
Yeah, same. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just don't value what Kirk Cousins brings to the Falcons as much as, obviously, Tom Brady, but I don't know. It just seems like it's a little bit of a light punishment. And like you said, if it was a 5th-round pick all along, just do it before the draft and get rid of it.
Yeah, and I guess, too, like, we don't know the extent of both stories. Like, how were the Dolphins tampering? Was it just, like, a few exchanged text messages? Was it phone calls? Was it sit-down meetings? You know, versus how did the Falcons do it? So I guess they obviously will never know that, but definitely two very very different types of punishments here for two moderately similar situations.
Yeah, and just how the NFL values the players. Speaking of value, Trevor Lawrence just came out today. He signed a 5-year, $275 million contract extension, making him tied with Joe Burrow as the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. Sean, I want your takeaway before I say anything here because I'm a little blown away.
Little spicy takes over there.
Yeah.
It's just how it's just the nature of the beast in the NFL, especially with quarterbacks these days. He's coming off back-to-back 4,000-yard seasons. Do I think he deserves to get paid just as much as Joe Burrow? No, not necessarily. But it's just how the NFL is these days. Them two are the highest paid quarterbacks ever right now. That's going to change. People are going to get paid more than them. It's just the market continues to evolve, especially for quarterback, because it's, the most important position in sports, in my opinion at least. And it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's kind of a little egotistical position too. Like everyone's like, I want to be, or not even just quarterbacks, really anyone in general in the NFL is very like, no, I want to get paid more than him. I want to be the highest paid. I want to be that. Like I want, even if it's for a day, I want that day. So I don't think Trevor Lawrence necessarily is like that. He seems like a pretty straightforward guy, but you know what? Hey, good for the Jags for being able to lock up a franchise quarterback. They are looking better. They've improved quite a bit since he came around, but that's a tough place to play and a tough place to win. So good for him for sticking around and believing in what they're building and being a big part of that too. So I guess that's the cool part about it. But yeah, I'll let you go now.
Yeah, I mean, I would just expect him to finish top 10 in starting quarterbacks in more categories than he did. I'm looking at it right now. In total yards for the season, he finished 10th among starting quarterbacks. Touchdowns with 21 touchdowns, he finished 15th or tied for 15th. Interceptions thrown, it says tied for 110th, but I think that compares more than just starting quarterbacks. And then QBR, he finished 17th in the NFL. So I don't know. If you're going to throw money to a guy like that, I would expect his numbers to be a little bit better. I think I'd put him in the top 10 for mostly all of those statistics. And I'm sure there are some stats where he is in the top 10, but it just seems like a high dollar amount for a guy that was projected to be just like Caleb Williams, man. He had just as much hype as Caleb Williams coming out of high school, coming out of college, and he's been good, but nothing crazy. But like you said, I think you bring up a good point where it's like maybe this is just a situation where Jacksonville has had a hard time historically locking down their franchise quarterback, and they're just saying, screw it, we're going to pay the guy. We don't care what the number is. We want to have our quarterback for now and for the future. And I think that would make a lot of sense because other than that, when you just look at the numbers, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but like to be tied for the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, at least for now, is a little surprising for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's still young. I think he's like, 24 years old now. And he obviously probably isn't in his prime yet, so he can keep getting better, and we can come back next year or the year after and be like, oh, that actually kind of seems like a bargain for him. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL now. But yeah, just definitely a lot of money, but I don't get too tied up in that stuff anymore, especially in the NFL, just because everyone gets paid a lot. Everyone wants to make more than the next guy, and it's just how it is. And yeah, for Jacksonville, I'm sure they probably had to start there or close to it, and in order to get that done. But hey, they ended up doing it, so good for them. Good for both parties.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see how it pans out. As far as national coverage, I think that's all I had. Did you have anything you wanted to add that maybe came out? I saw Florida Panthers went up 3-1. I don't know if that 4-1 now.
It's 4-1, yeah.
Okay, so they're about to go up 3-0 in this series, and obviously, like I said, the score will be out by the time you guys listen to this, so you'll know the results already. But yeah, they're just dominating, man. Jesus. Okay, cool. Then switching to Chicago sports, we can stay on the topic of hockey. Do you want to talk about some Blackhawks news that came out this week, especially around draft picks?
Yeah, so NHL scouting combine, it's the NHL draft scouting combine just happened in Buffalo last weekend, and finally we got to see some interest for the Blackhawks. Got to hear a little bit more about what they've been up to, or who they've been meeting with, stuff like that. They have the second pick in the draft. Everyone knows it. Well, I shouldn't say everyone knows. The general consensus is that it is between Artyom Levshunov, right shot defenseman out of Michigan State, and Ivan Demidov, a forward out of Russia. Now, before the combine, if you would have asked anyone, most people would lean that the Blackhawks were going to be taking Demidov. Now that the combine's over, it seems like everyone's now starting to lean pretty heavily toward Levshunov with that second pick. And he spoke publicly and talked about the Blackhawks and their interest in him. So turns out the Blackhawks went to dinner with him during the combine. And I believe, now don't quote me on this for sure, but I believe he was the only prospect that they went to dinner with, or they were the only team that he went to dinner with. It's one of them. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I heard something about that too.
So that's pretty telling. And then Levshunov also talked or mentioned that they've been talking a lot, and this goes back into last year, that they were talking to him quite a bit last year. So even before the Blackhawks knew what their fate was, before the draft results came out and they did the lottery, they were already talking to him. Obviously, we knew they would be picking pretty high, but they didn't know exactly where. So it seems like they've really kind of been zeroing in on him for quite a while now. And I know before I maybe have said, if not before, I definitely thought they were taking Ivan Demidov, but now I'm pretty confident that they're going to take Artyom Levshunov, and he's going to be the pick there at second overall. And just, with him at the combine too, got to see a little bit more of his personality come to light. And he's actually funny. Like, people are going to love this dude. He was talking about their dinner with the Blackhawks, and he was giggling. He goes, people asked how it was. He was like, oh, it was good. We had a few beers and had some good food. And then he was like, no, I'm just kidding. We had good conversation and stuff. But he was making the media laugh quite a bit, and you like to see that, because I'm sure all those kids, for the most part, are pretty nervous going into stuff like that. And for some of them, it might even be some of the biggest media scrums they've been involved with to date. But seeing him kind of handle that pretty well, that also made me kind of be like, hey, maybe he should be the guy. Like, I like the head on his shoulders. I like the way he's portraying himself, and obviously, on the ice, he's got a lot of things to be happy with too. But yeah, it was just kind of cool seeing all that come to light. Your thoughts on either of those guys, or kind of, what's going on here?
I think with how lighthearted he's been with the media, it tells me that the Blackhawks have tipped their hand with him and told him, like, hey, we are essentially going to take you number 2 overall. Unless something shocking happens, we're going to take you number 2 overall, because, like you said, he was very lighthearted. He was funny during the media sessions. They already know what they're going to get out of him. Yes, it does seem like Demidov is starting to drop down. Even a lot of people are saying, I know you were talking outside of the top 5.
Yep.
And at this rate, maybe top 10. But I know there's some injury issues going on with him right now too. So
there's a lot going on with him.
Yeah, and it's none of it's good. I mean, they can see, they can watch the tape, know what they get out of this kid, know that he could be a future superstar. But the more news that's coming out with Demidov, it just never seems like anything good is coming out, and it's the opposite for Levshunov. So I think the writing's on the wall. I think it'll be Levshunov at number 2, especially how he's approaching these media days, and just joking around, making fun of it. Well, not making fun of it, but making fun with it. I think he'll be the answer at number 2. But speaking of Blackhawks, man, I think this was yesterday. I think this was Wednesday. Kyle Davidson came out and crushed our dreams of Patrick Kane coming back to the Blackhawks. I forget what the exact quote is. It's something along the lines of, We don't foresee that in our future. We don't foresee that as part of our future.
He basically said, like, we had to do a lot of talking and a lot of determining as to what to do with, like, past history in this team. And we made some tough decisions to move on from some of those guys. I don't see us going back on that, is basically what he said.
Yeah. I don't love that. I don't love that.
Do.
I we're bound to disagree on something here. Let me take a step back here. I'm okay with Patrick Kane not coming back to the Blackhawks. I don't love the timing of it. Like, at least try. Talk to the guy. See if you can communicate. I mean, even back to the draft, Patrick Kane says, he was open to returning to the Blackhawks. He was just waiting for his phone to ring from them, and he never heard anything. So it's like, we know that Patrick Kane is interested in coming back. That part we don't have to worry about. But it just seems like it's too early on to say, like, yeah, no, we're good. We have no interest in him right now. At least have the conversation, entertain it. If nothing else, for the fans.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, they probably have had that, like, conversations. Like, a lot goes on behind closed doors, and I'm sure they've probably even touched base with, like, agents or maybe even Patrick Kane. Like, some sort of conversation has happened. I don't think Davidson just woke up and was like, I'm not gonna do this. Like, we're already over that. We moved past that. Like, let's not go back. But I think it's a good thing in the sense of, as fun as Kane was in Chicago, and obviously the great run that they had and those teams that they had where they got 3 cups, like, at some point you have to move on. Those days are gone. Like, let's just commit to trying to have the new era with Bedard and stuff like that. And obviously I know Kane coming wouldn't, like, prevent them from having that, superstar franchise player type shift, but it just goes to show, like, hey, like, Bedard, this really is your time. Like, we're not gonna go back and entertain this Patrick Kane stuff anymore. Like, we'll figure out different ways to improve that don't require us having to go back and get someone who had a lot of success here before. We're gonna try something new, and we're gonna try to do this right, and we're gonna try to build up around you with different faces and things like that. But obviously, I would always enjoy Patrick Kane playing for the Blackhawks. It sucked when they traded him, but at the same time too, like, we got to move on from it eventually. And I'm glad Kyle Davidson's sticking to his guns. It shows he's got some cojones down there, and he's not afraid to have to make a tough decision if he's got to make a tough decision, and one that I'm sure probably more fans than not will be upset about. I would guess more fans would like to see him back, but kudos to Kyle for saying, hey, I decided on this before. We thought about it. We're sticking with our gut and what our decision was, and we're just gonna move on from it. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at.
I'm not ready to move on, Sean. Damn it.
Get over it, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
It's just fun to think about. I also wonder if they did have that conversation with Bedard in something that maybe he wasn't interested in, and that's kind of what made them come out this early and say, we're not going to go back and entertain that conversation. But I'm sure we'll hear more, especially as the draft comes closer and closer. I'm sure we'll hear more. Or maybe they've already got some transactions that they're looking at up their sleeve. I mean, look at the situation with, this is a totally different sport, but like with Keenan Allen. As Bears fans, we were like, dude, what the hell are we going to do for wide receiver 2? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? The team's not signing anybody. All these other receivers are getting signed. And then all of a sudden we get this notification, Keenan Allen is a Bear. And it's like, oh, shit, okay. So maybe it's one of those situations where they're already doing some stuff behind the scenes. And as a professional sports team, there's always stuff happening behind the scenes. So we'll see. Moving to White Sox talk. Drew Thorpe.
A lot going on.
Yeah, man. I think it's only fair we start with him because this guy jumps from Double-A straight to the MLB, and he was shoving in Double-A. Rated the number 54th prospect in baseball and number 3 prospect in the White Sox farm system. His debut, which was last night. No, last night was Jonathan Cannon. Tuesday night, his debut, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 of them earned, 2 walks, 4 Ks. He threw 98 pitches, 61 for strikes. The defense did make a couple errors behind him. He actually made a really nice play himself. I think it was the last out of his outing himself. I'm like,
I didn't know he had that in him.
Okay, young shortstop. Okay. So I was really impressed with what I saw from him. What did you notice?
Yeah, the first thing first off, super impressed. Great debut, fun to watch. Finally, some really exciting stuff happening with the White Sox. A lot of people have been waiting for him to make his debut, and it's finally here. But yeah, it's super exciting. The one thing I noticed with him off the bat and kind of kept an eye on throughout the game is his body language. He looked incredibly poised, incredibly composed, and I would have guessed that was his second or third or fourth year in the MLB, just based off his body language. Looked like he wasn't even nervous, which was super impressive to see. And then he was kind of carving up the strike zone a little bit, being more of a, or I shouldn't say carving up. He was being a little bit more of a surgeon, where he was locating his pitches really well. Changeup looked phenomenal. Had some struggles later on where maybe he was running out of gas and he kind of started missing some spots quite a bit. But for a first start, like, I don't know if you could have asked for much better than what he gave you. And like you mentioned too, 2 errors from the defense, 1 extended the inning, 1 led to a run. And if it weren't for those errors, he probably would have went another inning, maybe 2, definitely 1. So got kind of a little bit limited there, but all things considered, a lot of stuff to like from that debut. And I can say, like, I will try to make sure I can sit down and watch any of his starts whenever he's on the mound, because, man, that was fun. That was an exciting day.
Yeah, especially considering he made that jump from Double-A straight to the MLB. It's he looked like he was just making another Double-A start, if we're being honest. And what I liked is he had the opportunity to do this against a pretty respectable lineup. It's not like he's throwing against the Oakland A's, you know what I mean, and just carving up the A's.
They're a playoff team right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I loved about it, is he had an opportunity to go against a pretty good lineup and show his stuff, and he did. I mean, and to be honest with you, the night after, Jonathan Cannon, man, this dude,
That's the start of his early career too.
I'm telling you, he went 7 innings, allows 1 run, 4 hits, 1 walk, 7 Ks against the Mariners on Wednesday night. One note I did notice is over his last 2 appearances combined, one of them was a start and one of them was a relief. He had 10 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 11 K. So for him, it's like, the question now becomes is like, are we starting to get a glimpse of what our rotation could look like?
I freaking hope so, man. And this has nothing to do with how good both those guys were this week. It's just like, we have a plethora of pitching prospects. We just need to see who's going to hit and who's not. No pun intended. We need to see who's going to stick around and who's who we can maybe move on from. And obviously, with all the starting pitchers we have, like, some guys need to get some time. So yeah, I hope that these are 2 staples in the rotation for the rest of the year, and we start to see less of the Mike Clevingers, and obviously I can say we can almost guarantee we'll lose Eric Fetty at the trade deadline or right around it. He's earned the opportunity to get traded and earned the opportunity to be on a much more competitive team. So just kind of, I hope they just start bringing guys up like Jonathan Cannon, and obviously they've tried with Nick Nastrini a few times, and his situation is interesting because he just had his most successful start and then got sent down, so that didn't really make sense. But no, it's been fun, and I really hope this is just, this is some of the guys that are going to play their way to stick around the rest of the year. Obviously, Thorpe, he's a little bit different of a situation. He's a premier prospect you got on your team. He'll probably be around no matter what. But yeah, just seeing Jonathan Cannon go up and down the Mariners lineup and have his way last night. In similar style to Thorpe too, where he was, just locating his pitches really well, was also very fun to watch, and I hope we get to continue watching him, and I hope this is just the start of a good little successful run for him.
Yeah, when you look at like potential pitchers, I mean, you've obviously got those two. You've got Cannon, you've got Thorpe. If for some reason they extend Crochet, you've got Crochet, you've got Noah Schultz, you've got Jairo Iriarte, which, in my opinion, I think he could be more of like a high leverage reliever type of pitcher in the long run. But I mean, he's going out there shoving too, so who really knows? But they should have the number 1 overall pick, but they're going to get screwed out of that this year, so they'll have a probably number 10 pick overall. But it's been enjoyable to watch. I mean, when you look at the other side of things for White Sox baseball with their bats, that there's a lot left to be desired. There's not a lot of fun to watch on offense. But then you look at some of their pitching staff, it's actually been enjoyable. So let's hope they keep that up, because, I mean, I'm with you. Like, when I see Drew Thorpe on the mound, it's a game I'm going to tune in, I'm going to watch, and now maybe Jonathan Cannon too. So
if you haven't got a chance to watch him yet, you should. His stuff's pretty fun. Cannon, that is. I watched
his game last night. He looked really, really nice. I thought they were going to get rocked. I thought he was going to get rocked, but he looked good. And actually, the Sox are up 2-0 right now in Seattle in the 3rd inning. So.
Yeah, I know you just brought up bats and not as exciting, but Andrew Vaughn hit a home run tonight. He actually has been turning it on a lot lately.
Luis Robert too.
Yep, since he's come back, I think he's hit 3 or 4 home runs now. Had a pinch hit home run the other night. Like, he's a true true outcome player, where it seems like he's either striking out or hitting a home run, but he'll get back into the swing of things. He's still, timing and getting all that stuff back. But yeah, those are definitely 2 guys that have at least had a fun little run here for the White Sox offensively, because a lot of the rest of it's pretty tough. Corey Lee too. Dude, he's picking up some hits.
Corey Lee's been fun. I like Corey Lee a lot. Obviously, we've talked about him, but dude,
you love him. You're his biggest fan.
Jersey's on the way, 1 in each color, bro.
Yeah.
Garrett Crochet is dealing right now. Through 3, he has 1 hit he's given up, and he's got 6 Ks. He's just
nice. I got him on my fantasy team, so shout out to Garrett.
Dealing. So this guy, we'll jump to Bears talk. This guy I kind of teased a little bit earlier in the episode. Keenan Allen. So the news that came out this week with him, he switched who he is represented by. It's now Clutch Sports Group. I personally think that this is now a disadvantage to the Bears. I know we probably have different opinions on this, but I don't think it's going to be as likely that they sign Keenan Allen to a 2-year or 3-year deal now. I think this is his way of saying, hey, you know what? I'm done playing games. You guys have had time to talk about an extension. We haven't gotten anywhere close to what I'm looking for, so I'm going to switch groups that I'm with. He's now with Clutch Sports Group. They're obviously very well represented. I don't think this pans out well for the Bears, but you might have a different opinion.
I do. I think when he switched agents, that indicated that he wants to get a deal done in Chicago. That was a big point when they traded for him. Obviously, Ryan Poles is a general manager. He's a smart guy. He knew, I'm sure when he made the move, he knew there was a possibility Keenan Allen would sign an extension in Chicago. And I'm guessing they tried to work it out, for however long they've been trying, and it wasn't getting anywhere. And now Keenan Allen's like, you know what, Chicago, he's had some practices with the team, been around the team. He's like, you know what, it's not that bad here. I want to try to work something out and get a good number done. So I'm going to switch agents and try to get one that is willing to work on that with me. And that's truly what I think the mindset he's taking. Now, obviously, time will tell either way if that's true or not. But whenever I see a player switch agents, especially randomly and in a process like this, I think it leans more towards they want to get an extension done. They want to stay here. They're going to find someone who can help them with that. and I think he's doing that by signing with or hiring Clutch Sports Group. But we'll see. I don't know. I think I've always thought something will get done, but I feel a little bit more confident now. So we'll see how that comes.
I know one thing. He's going to get his bag. I'm just looking at the athletes that are represented by Clutch Sports Group, and I mean, I'll just summarize, like NBA, Lonzo Ball, he got his money. Our favorite guy, Zach LaVine, he got his money. Anthony Davis, De'Aaron Fox, Darius Garland, Draymond Green. I think LeBron is too, but that's just for the NBA. You look at the NFL, DeAndre Hopkins, Bryce Hall, Odell Beckham, which seems to get a contract every year, Jalen Hurts, Myles Garrett. So Bijan Robinson, they come. Montez Sweat. Okay, so maybe you have a point then, because they already worked with Clutch with Montez's deal, so maybe this is a good thing. But yeah, I don't feel great about it, but I think we'll know. I think we'll definitely know before the season starts.
I was just looking into his past contracts too to see, like, has he gotten paid? He's coming off a 4-year, $80 million contract. So I'm gonna guess I'm gonna guess he gets 2 years. I'm gonna guess it's I'll say in the $15 to $18 million per year range is what I'll guess they'll do.
I think he's going to be closer to 18 because he had a career year last year. And, like, yeah, there's injury history, but he can even say, like, yeah, okay, well, beyond that, I had a career year. So yeah, I think he'll be closer to 18. And luckily, like, fortunately, the Bears are in a position to where they can afford that. They've got money to spend. So
speaking of afford, they made a big move today, too. I don't know if you saw that.
Is this sarcasm or what was the move?
They signed DeAndre Carter, the return specialist.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
So
yeah.
He can return kicks. Kickoff rules are different this year. I'm like, you know what? Why not, like, try it? Like, yeah. you know, I know people were. I was listening to CHGO Bears talk, their podcast today. Actually, I think it aired. I think it's the one that dropped yesterday or Wednesday. Yesterday was Wednesday, so yeah, yesterday, and they had a debate. You know, who will Roma Dunze return punts? Should he return punts? And then I think it was Adam Hogue said, like, well, let's just wait and see how the roster shakes out. And then a day later, there's a move for you.
Knew.
So
yeah, he probably
maybe
knew.
Yeah, or just funny timing.
I think this is their way of just saying, like, hey, we don't have to use one of our good running backs or receivers to return kicks, so we're just going to sign a guy to take care of that for us. And I think it's a smart move because even with them testing out these new kicks, you never know how that stuff's going to happen. The speed of the game, guys are getting hurt, tearing ACLs every year, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he's been here before too, so that's always kind of nice. And
yep,
he was. I think he maybe last year was just in with the Chargers too. So if not last year, recently. So he's played with Keenan Allen before too. So maybe we're really trying to warm Keenan Allen up to a little extension.
They just wrapped up OTAs too. I mean, I know I've got some. Well, yeah, I guess a couple guys that I was really impressed with. One guy that I'm just really sick of hearing in the media. Do you want me to go first, or you want to talk about what you noticed?
Yeah, I guess I could go first. I wasn't quite as tuned in as I would have liked to have been, but a couple things I noticed is it seems like Roma Dunze did pretty good on and off the field. I know a lot of people liked him in the media interviews and stuff like that. They like his confidence, and obviously Caleb Williams has been showing a lot of confidence in those type of situations too. Going off of that, seems like Caleb did pretty good for the most part. Seems like defense won a handful of practices. You would hope that they do, A, because he's a rookie, and B, because the defense is supposed to be good. So if a rookie's coming in and torching you left and right, probably not a good sign. So that was another thing that was really kind of my two biggest takeaways. Torrey Taylor, apparently, it looks really good, was another takeaway I had. So you seem like you've definitely kind of tuned in a lot more than I have. So those were just kind of what I noticed, and I'll let you take over from here.
Dude, the airtime on Torrey Taylor's punt. There's a couple videos that came out. It's just insane. He'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of the same thoughts. It seems like Caleb and Rome are meshing very, very well early on, which I absolutely love. Because if we're being honest, it shouldn't be too hard for Caleb to find DJ. It shouldn't be too hard for Caleb to find Keenan. It's really just how is Rome going to adjust to the NFL. And if they're already meshing like this, that is a great sign for Roma Dunze to get off to a quick start. One name I guess I'm a little disappointed I'm not hearing a ton of, and maybe that's just because of lack of weapons last year. He had a great year as Cole Kmet. I haven't really heard a whole lot of Cole Kmet. I don't know if he's been sitting out for half of the OTAs, but I've also seen him participate, so that raises a question.
I know he was out for at least like one practice. He was riding back on the sideline.
Yeah, I know of one too, but I'd like to hear his name a little bit more. But it is OTAs, so we're early. It's June. One guy I'm just honest. Go ahead.
One thing I noticed too, just on the topic of receivers, is sounds like Caleb and the receivers got a group chat and they're going to try working out together in Florida or California or something over the next like month after they have a little bit of time off. So. That's kind of cool to see. Like to hear that. So, yeah, sounds like they're going to try. Yep, I was watching his press conference yesterday, and he talked about how they're in the process of figuring out when they can make it work for everyone, where's the location where it can work for everyone. But definitely seems like they're going to get together and they're going to keep working together, even though the Bears have nothing on the schedule. So, love that too.
I do love that Caleb Williams ends every single press conference with, "Da Bears." Yeah. Gotta love it. Yeah. So I'll get back to what I was saying. One guy that I'm really disappointed in, and honestly, I would love it if we were deep enough and fortunate enough to just release this guy, is Nate Davis.
Yeah.
Dude, last year there was issues with him reporting. Last year there's issues with him showing up to meeting. Last year there's issues with his play. This year, there's issues with him reporting. It's like, dude, shit or get off the pot. Like, I wish we were in a fortunate enough position with our offensive line, especially right guard, to where we could say, you know what, enough is enough. Pack your shit and get out of here, because we're not going to sit here and play games, especially when we've got a rookie quarterback, who's taking snaps right behind you. And that brings up another conversation. Actually, we don't know who our center is yet, but I would hope that after OTAs, after preseason, obviously teams are going to have to trim their roster down. Maybe there's a guard we can pick up that, we can drop Nate Davis and move on. But he's just been pissing me off.
Yeah, he's always MIA, it seems like. And unfortunately, they gave him a decent chunk of change, and I don't even know what that will look like for cutting ties with him. But he's making it hard on them, that's for sure.
And himself. Like, he's not putting a good reputation on his name. If this next year for him is a team option, he's screwed on his next contract, because he has not made a good reputation of himself. So we'll see. We just have to hope it works out for the better. And honestly, even if the better means him showing up and playing well, I'm fine with that too. Bulls talk. So we don't have a ton to cover with Bulls talk. I mean, a lot of it right now is just
quiet,
like leading up to the draft. Yeah, I remember
Draft's
seeing
in,
some stuff.
2 weeks though, so we'll have some stuff coming up.
Yeah, after the draft, and honestly, maybe even next episode if they do make a move. But that's what I was going to say. So there were some rumors of them moving into the top 10, which, if it's number 10, like, okay, sweet move. You moved up one spot. But apparently they have their eyes set on Donovan Clingan. What are your thoughts here?
If they're going to trade up for anyone, I would like it to be him. Assuming they're jumping into like the top 3 or top 4. And that's where he's going to go. I don't know. With a draft that has so many question marks and a draft that is one of the weakest ones in 30-ish years, I think he's as close to not a sure thing, but like he can probably step on the court and give you good
Plug
minutes
and play.
and play right away type of guy and won't hurt you. Shouldn't be a whole lot of a learning curve with him because he's just a defensive minded big man. He'll get boards, he'll get blocks, and he'll dunk and whatnot. He's not going to be shooting threes or anything like that. So I think there's that leaves a little bit like he'll have less opportunities for error than some rookies. But also too, like, all that's good and dandy, and I can pound my chest and say, oh, the Bulls are going to trade up for the guy I like the most. It's still a weak draft. Like, I wouldn't feel great about giving up assets. I'm sure the Bulls would be like, here's next year's first and the year after and 2 second-round picks, and then get a guy who averages, 10 and 10 a game, and that's what they get. I will say, though, I did tell this to you. Now, if they did do that trade and they got Klingon, I think he's better than Vucevic right now. So you got your starting center.
Yeah, I think so too. He's definitely got the wingspan. I was just looking up what his wingspan was, and it's 7'7", 7 feet 7 inches wingspan. Which, to give you some perspective, I looked up Giannis's wingspan. It's 7'3". So his wingspan is like freaky. It's insane, which I think brings a lot of value to the Bulls because with Vooch, you don't get a ton of rim protection. You don't get a ton of defense.
And
I think that, yeah, right. I think that that's something that he could offer to this team. And then, we talk a lot about continuity with this team. The roster is going to look similar. If they bring in Klingon and they get rid of Vooch, like, okay, maybe this roster does look a little bit different. Now, I don't think we're going to be a top 4 or 5 seed in the East. I'd be crazy to say that, but like at least we're starting to see shades of something different. So I'd be fine with it. And to be honest, it's like they have no problem trading picks anyways. So if that's what you need to do, then do it. Just don't sacrifice our future for 2 or 3 years just to move up and take a guy like Klingon. So I don't know, man. I have a hard time trusting their front office. So it's like, even if they do this move and trade up and draft him, it's like, should I even be excited about this if they're that excited about him? Because I don't trust them.
Yeah, I will say this. So, like, for the Bulls specifically, they, for whatever reason, just have such a hard time of getting superstars and like acquiring them, whether that's signing or trading for. Most of the times, trading for, because it's very not super often that they're just available on the open market. So their best opportunity to get one is through the draft, and if that means they got to trade up and go get a guy that they like or a guy that they think can be that superstar, then whatever, because that's our best chance at actually getting one. So
yeah, that's fair. On the other side of the court, WNBA talk. The Sky, how have the Sky looked? I saw Angel Reese. She's put together a couple nice games. It seems like Cardoso is getting more and more consistent playing time. What have you noticed there?
Reese has been awesome. She is on quite the run right now. She has 4 straight double-doubles. She had 20 and 10 on 80% from the field last night,
Damn.
so Wednesday night. And saw this on X by an account named Stat Mamba, where Reese is the second player in Sky history to have that exact stat line. And she's also the fastest player in WNBA history to record 100 rebounds to start their career since Breanna Stewart did it in 2016. So she's making history. She's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. Shooting percentage, still a work in progress, but obviously last night she couldn't miss. So hopefully that gives her some momentum. And yeah, she's been really fun to watch, and Cardoso seems to start to be coming into form a little bit too. She's obviously working her way back from injuries, so she just got taken off minutes restriction, so we're getting to see a lot more of her, which is nice. And Yeah, Sky are competitive, aren't winning too many games, but aren't a team that other teams are just walking over. So it's been pretty entertaining, and it's been fun seeing the rookies finally get to play at lengths together. So
I've been peeping the box score. It seems like they're staying competitive in these games, and like yes, they're losing more games than they're winning, but I think it was last night against the Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're honestly one of the better teams in the WNBA right now, and they played them pretty tough. So
yeah, they did.
And honestly, Angel Reese, she just brings that swagger to this team, which maybe this is something that the team needed because it seemed like they were a little flat, and honestly, that's probably why they were in the position that they were to draft her. But it's fun. I've been watching a little bit. I definitely watch clips of her on Twitter or X more than I watch the actual games. But even the clips that I see on Twitter, I've been enjoying. So, yeah, more to come there. They're not even halfway through the season yet, right?
It just started.
But aren't they like 10 or 15 games in already or no?
I would guess they're probably 7 or 8.
Oh, they're 11 games in.
11, yeah.
Yeah, so they're 11 games in. Okay, so then they've still got a while to go. It looks like their season goes through September. So they've got a long ways to go. But nonetheless, it's been fun to watch them, especially not having the Bulls. At least you've got that to entertain you, and you've got some young future stars in the WNBA to watch. But I think that's about it. Did you have any fun exercises for us today? Did you come ready for anything for me, or is that it?
No, I got none today. I figured I'd give you a break.
Damn.
I know all these exercises can be a little tough sometimes, so I'll let it slide this week.
You're getting lazy on us now, but
yeah.
All right, guys.
We said this was going to be a longer episode, so actually, I do have closing remarks. I'm sorry that we lied to you. We'll be better. We'll try to stick to our word more next time, but for now, deepest, sincerest apologies for lying to you, our loyal and lovely listeners.
All of you, all of thousands and thousands of you. But yeah, guys, that's it for the episode this week. Again, make sure to follow, share, send us a message with anything you want to hear more about. Maybe there's a team you want us to talk about, a storyline, draft talk. We'll talk about it. Just send us a message. Let us know what you want to hear, and we're happy to do so. Have a safe, wonderful weekend. Enjoy Father's Day to those who celebrate and should be celebrated. And we will talk to you guys more next week. Take care.